Never seen a lame man walk. Never heard a dumb man talk. Never seen a blind man see. I promise you will change his name. Never seen a canceled death. Never seen all the poor get fed. Never seen a prisoner set free. I promise you will change his name.
Hey everybody! How you doing? This is your boy Bigger T, and coming at you from the Big C and Bigger T podcast. We are coming at you through YouTube, through Spotify, through Apple, through Amazon, through Samsung, through Player FM, through iHeartRadio, through TuneIn. Wherever you want to hear us, we are there. We're probably on an elevator. No, we're probably not. Anyway, I'm coming at you as always with my best friend, my boy, my man, Levitan. I don't know what that means. Anyway, Clint Big C Clark.
What's good, man? And I want a special shout out today for all my peeps out there listening on their Zune player.
Yeah.
Do you even know what a Zune player is, Travis?
Yeah, that's that old was it Sony made that?
I think it was Windows. I think it was Microsoft made.
Okay.
I think Gates got him on a lot of things, but with the iPhone and the iPad and all that,
yeah,
he put him to shame. He put the Zune player to bed.
That's right. Well, Clint, man, it's a big day. It's election day.
Woohoo! I bet you didn't think we were going to talk politics on here, did you?
That's right, because we're the guys. We can cover anything.
Yeah, we'll cover anything.
Anything.
I tell you what, of all the races that I'm very excited about a lot of the races, but really the race that I'm most excited about are that they're all going to be over.
That's right.
And that your commercials are going to stop.
That's right. I left the polling place today and I got in my truck and I said, I turned on the radio and there was a ad for a politician. And then right following that, there was an ad for their competitor.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thank you. This is the last day for those. And then I started looking at all those stupid signs on the road. And I'm not for sure, but I think they have like so many days before those have to be up before they can get fines for however many's out there. So I was thankful that those are going to be gone pretty soon. Man. And then it'll come again in November.
Yeah, it'll come again. We'll start seeing it real good. We got a couple of months of them just going out fundraising.
And please, folks, we're not saying election's not important.
It is.
There's a lot of things in life that are important, but they're also annoying.
Yeah.
Going to the doctor's annoying, but it's important.
Getting your teeth cleaned, annoying.
It's annoying, but it's important.
See, only me and you could go from politics to dental hygiene.
That's right. Only on this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I hate flossing. I hate changing my underwear, but it's important.
It's important. I got to do it. Do it.
But, because nothing worked. Because you remember a few years ago, Tom Cotton ran against Mark Pryor. And like, I was convinced at the end of the election cycle, these are the two worst people alive.
That's right.
I mean, it's like,
I know they talk so bad about each other. I'm like, I don't want to be in a room with either one of them.
Yeah, like Tom Cotton kicks babies.
One of these days, Clint, I want just a real honest politician.
Yeah.
I want one that gets on the radio and says, yeah, I really don't know what I'm going to do. But I've got to be better than who's in there. I mean, how bad can I mess it up?
You basically need how Will Ferrell played George W. Bush.
That's right, yeah.
What? I'm going to kill that Cheney. I thought it was like a fishing contest. I win, I go home.
That's right.
I actually got to do this for 4 years.
That's right. Yeah. Well, Clinton, other news, this is my last week of school.
Whoa, yeah.
And then, I work as a facilitator for Virtual Arkansas for the Harmony Grove School District. I work on the Sparkman campus. Say all that in your title there. But we had something the other day, Clint, and it brought back honestly, it brought back sad memories for me.
Oh, no.
Just to be honest. I went back to being the chubby kid back in school that didn't think much of himself, to be honest with you.
Well,
we had an awards assembly, and I wish I would have thought it through, because I mean, I wasn't required to come up with any awards, because I don't teach necessarily. I just kind of, I have all these kids in a computer lab, and so I thought about, well, I could give an award for the best your mama joke, because I got kids doing that all the time. I could have done the best comeback for put down, because I had one kid. These two boys were talking one day, and I was getting mad at them because I try to get these kids to be nice to each other. I try to get them to not jab at each other so much. But it's a small school. They've known each other forever, and they're like brothers. They just do that. Okay. They'll talk bad about each other. And so there was one little boy that not real big. He's 11th grader, but he's about 120 pounds. Okay. And then there's a boy that's bigger than we were in high school. Let's put it that way. He's a big boy. Okay. Well, they started talking, they're actually, and it sounds cruel, okay, but the big boy was kind of making fun of the little guy about being poor. And he's like, and they're talking back and forth, and he's like, and the little boy's like, you ain't got that much anyway, or whatever. And the big boy's like, well, I got this many thousands of dollars worth of stuff in my room, or something, kind of being arrogant about it.
Yeah.
And the little boy goes, well, you need to buy you a treadmill. Dude, I lost it.
Dude,
I was sitting at my desk, and I'm like, I'm about to send these kids to the office. And then that boy says that, I go, I had to duck behind my computer.
It is so hard when you're mad at them and they say something hilarious, and you just got to go.
Yeah,
I had a smart mouth, so I would always swing to cut you. I wouldn't swing to amuse you.
Yeah.
And so, well, no, with Robert, I could do it. But like, I remember I was getting on to like my son one time, and I go, who do you think you're talking to? And he's like, you. And I just like,
yeah,
because it is his tone, because he was like, talking to you, like, who do you think I'm
question? Yeah.
That brings me to another hilarious Austin story. Now, Austin is not like me. He hates football. He's not a fan of it. Like, he won't sit and watch it with me. He played it one year, didn't like it, but I took him to Hendricks Youth Football Camp, and so he's walking up and like name. He goes Clark, and they go, Austin. He's like, yes. I go, yes, what? He goes, yes, what? I go, he's like, yes, what? I go, yes, what? And he goes, yes, what? And it goes on for what feels like 27 minutes. It was actually probably a good 10-second exchange. The freaking coach that's checking us in is dying. Just go play football, buddy. We're good. He's like,
that's right. You got to figure it out.
But I was like, yes, what? Yeah, I don't.
Well, back to the award assembly.
Oh, sorry, I got off on a tangent.
No. Did you ever get any awards? I'm trying to remember.
Never. Never. I always, for somebody who always tried to be the center of attention, I was awful average at everything.
And see, that's the thing. That was me too, and that's what I was thinking while I was sitting there at the awards assembly. Like, I'm seeing, these kids are getting the science award or the English award or the good attendance awards and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I was just mediocre. I mean, you could not have lived a more mediocre existence in high school than what I was in my classes.
So what was your class ranking as far as GPA? I was 40.
I was 50, like 53.
53 out of 100, and I was 40 out of 100.
Yeah.
So we just basically, I guess I'm a better student than you.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Well, no, I had that 11th grade sort of, second semester, 11th grade sort of did me in. But anyway.
Now, I don't know if you remember, like, or junior year, Robert had a goal to get perfect attendance. Robert wanted that award. I remember this vividly, like it was yesterday. So they literally do the reward ceremony, and Robert Branscombe gets the perfect attendance certificate. And you know what he does? Skips school the next day. Yeah, my man. That's the way you do it. He's like, can't take it back. I got
that way, Bobby B. Show him.
Yeah, I'm like,
that's good.
No, but
that's how you go out in style right there.
No,
but you know, and the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that. I was like, you know, now if you're talking church, you know, I would have, you know, we didn't do award things like that, but you know, like when you're a kid in Sunday school, you get those little gold stars and stuff. I was a beast at all that stuff. Like, that's why I'm a minister, I guess. And of course, while working in a school, they're going to fire me if they hear this.
I would seriously say this at 110%. We were more popular amongst the students.
Yeah.
Like you could probably count on one hand the amount of people in high school that just didn't like us.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, because we got along with everybody. That's the type of kids we were.
Yeah.
But we're also we're hilarious, and we think we're hilarious. We at least think we're hilarious.
We got laughs we laughed at ourselves a lot.
Yeah, and so I could be a tad bit disruptive.
Yeah, see, me too. Because once again, we, you know, why else would we do a podcast? We like attention on ourselves, right? So, you know, I think both of us would say that. And so that we may have been more busy thinking about how we can get a laugh, you know. Yeah. Well, it's like in my senior year in photography class with Mr. Gibson, you know, we had this simple project. We made shoebox cameras. Okay, you went in a dark room, and you took a shoebox and you cut a hole out and put aluminum foil on it and put a pinhole in it and covered it up, and then you put photo paper in it, and you had to seal it off. Then we had to go out around the campus and just take a picture. You let it sit there, you seal for like 5 seconds, you open it up, and it'll take a picture, and then you go develop it, right? Well, me and Stephen Velick were in there, and Velick, a classic, you know, if you're going to play a prank, you add Stephen Velick to that prank. Yeah. It goes up like 800% because he's got.
Did you ever toilet paper a house with Velick?
Yes.
How many houses do you think you toilet papered with Velick?
Just a couple. But anyway, we go out there and we're like, what can we get a picture of? And we go to the parking lot and we see Mr. Gibson's truck, his old green Ford, about a 67.
Dude, that was a gorgeous truck.
Well, and I had an old Ford myself, and I knew how to break into them. So we broke into his truck, and the first picture we took, each of us had a shoebox, right? So I took a picture of Steven sitting in his truck, giving a cheese and thumbs up, okay, with the window down, you know, just looking like a country hick. Well, then I said, hey, it was parked right on the edge of that. You remember that there was kind of it wasn't a huge ditch, but it was.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Right by the gym.
Yeah.
Well, I said, put it in neutral and put your foot on the brake and have the brake ready. And so I pushed it down into that ditch. And then I took a picture with my camera of him, or one of the other cameras of him in it with it down in the ditch going like, oh no. And so we go and develop the pictures, and we had to show them to Mr. Gibson, and he would make sure we developed them right and all the different stuff to get our grade. And so he goes to look at it. He's like, oh, that's my truck. And then he looked at the next one. It's in a ditch. What did you do? I said, it's okay. I'll pull you out. It's okay. I said, I have a chain in my truck. I'm going to pull you out. It's no problem. Anyway, it was so funny, man.
That's hilarious, because I can totally see y'all doing that. Really,
and so that's why I didn't get the photography award senior year. I didn't get it because I would do too many things like that, and you were kind of the same way.
Yeah, I was thinking of a story to tell. I do remember 10th grade year, me and you caused all kinds of problems in Miss Angel's class.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think she liked me very much.
Well, she didn't like any 10th graders.
Yeah, no, your senior year, she's great.
Yeah.
I got out of writing the research paper because they decided in my senior year that drama would count as your English credit. I was like, deuces, y'all.
Yeah.
So,
well, my favorite story from that class, you want me to tell it?
Well, you can tell that, but I do remember, I knew I was in trouble when she had a parent-teacher conference and only Tom Clark went.
Well, no, here's what happened at that conference. We were in class one day, and you're sitting in front of me, and you wrote a note, and you passed it to me real sly like, and I got the note, and it said, Miss Angel is the greatest teacher ever. I learned so much from this class. I'm so glad I'm in here, or something like that.
Yes.
And then I wrote, man, you're right. This is the best class ever. Not only is she beautiful, she is such an interesting teacher. And then I passed it to you, and then you wrote something else, and then you go like this. And handed it back so it was obvious. And she picked it up. And my mom said that it was in our file. There was a copy of it in our file when they went to parent-teacher conferences. That was in our file. That we passed that letter.
Well, and I'd done some more. I'd gotten a little bit more trouble. I just remember I went to the Association of Christian Students, like we'd meet in the mornings. I went to that like, surely Tom Clark's going to be happy that I'm doing a church service, so he won't come yell at me in here. Yeah. I remember him opening the door going, well,
yeah, that's it.
This is how I die. Anyway.
All right. Well, anyway, so Clint, we got a lot to talk about this week.
We do, and we've blabbered too much at the opening.
We blabbered too much at the opening. There's nothing else we can use for Holy Snikes.
Oh, I posted it on the Facebook page. Is when two national championship winning coaches decide let's cause a big ruckus. Let's go scorched earth, because you don't think Nick went scorched earth. You think Jimbo went scorched earth.
Well, and so let me set this table real quick.
You go right ahead.
Just in case someone out there's been living under a rock and they don't know what happened. Okay. Nick Saban was speaking at some sort of booster deal or some event. He's answering questions. And I think it was for boosters. These are people he's asking to give money to the university.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
For all the stuff they're doing. Well, he starts talking about NIL and the way things are in NCAA. And he starts talking about how that teams are paying players pretty much and guaranteeing them money to come to their school. And he specifically said Texas A&M. And he specifically said the story about Jackson State getting the transfer from Florida State. And he specifically said something about the basketball players at Miami. Well, as you can imagine, Jimbo didn't like that too much. And so he went back saying that, well, first of all, he wouldn't take Saban's calls.
No.
And Jimbo went deeper he just started saying, look, I know where the bodies are buried, and you'll find them if you look hard enough. He pretty much is what he said. I mean, that's a different way of saying it, but he laid it out there. He said, hey, and insinuated that Nick's been cheating a long time, and that who is he to say those type of things? Clint, what's your take on it? First of all, here's my question.
Yeah.
Was Nick Saban wrong about what he said?
I agree with what Steve Spurrier said. Do I think that A&M went out there and like paid a player? I mean, I don't think they did anything like with Eric Dickerson where, like, hey, here's a new Corvette, here's a new Trans Am or whatever it was that he had. I think Texas A&M's, I think their NIL game's on point. I think Nick Saban, to a degree, told the truth, but Nick Saban's not an idiot. Nick Saban is a very, very smart man. He was talking to a room of boosters. Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney both loved the old system because what was the national championship game for the last 27 years? Alabama versus Clemson. They were going to meet in the playoffs. So they don't like anything that's going to stir the way things are. This NIL thing has changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
And Saban, I think it was you that brought the point me and you were talking, is that Saban's always not been a fan of something, but he realizes he has to adapt, and he adapts. And I think that's pretty much what he was doing, what he was trying to say in the room. Like, look, this is the way the game's played now. We're going to have to up our NIL game if we are going to compete. Because,
well, he said in that speech he was given, he said, we're going to have to do this too.
Yeah.
He literally said that in there.
I think, because if you're a college kid, if you're looking at a college, and if you're that gifted football player, we're in Alabama and Arkansas, any Power 5 programs recruiting you, because if any Power 5 programs recruiting you, odds are you have the talent and ability to maybe play at the next level. So you want two things. You want to know where you're going to get a good education and you can get along with the coaches. And then you want to can the coach get you in the NFL?
Mm.
That's what you want to know. Can I do that? That was the way it's always been. Now, like, hey, where can I go put a lot of coin in my pocket in college and make it to the NFL and maybe get an education in case that don't work out? That's what they're going to want to know. That's the kind of thing that's being addressed in living rooms now. I mean, they're telling them, they're giving them this pie in the sky dream that there's going to be this, and Saban shouldn't act this, because he did bring up at SEC Media Days that Bryce Young hadn't played a down of football.
Yeah.
And he had $1 million in NIL.
Yeah. So
he's not perfect, but
well, look, I have very strong feelings about this, Clint.
Oh, I want to hear your feelings.
I have very strong feelings.
Okay.
I think once again, Jimbo Fisher proves he's a loser. And I know you agree with me on that.
No, I do.
I think Jimbo Fisher proves that he's a jackwagon, and I don't really care much for him. Jimbo Fisher is crying like a big baby. Nick Saban was complaining about NCAA football and the way it is right now. Clint, the number one receiver in the nation last year, played for Pitt Panthers. He was number one. They treated him well enough for him to be the number one receiver in college football. He had enough passes, enough touches. He is the number one guy. He's transferring to USC. If Treylon Burks would have had even better stats than what he had at Arkansas, and if he would have pulled a Mike Woods on us, think about that. The system is broken. And that's what Nick Saban was saying. He said, look, because he said the NCAA can't do anything about it in his speech. He said, look, with the transfer portal, that's why you can transfer anytime you want, because they were spending so much legal fees fighting these people that wanted to transfer. And they would say, well, my grandpa is getting older. Everybody's grandpa's getting older.
It wasn't this rampant. I mean, back before the transfer portal.
No.
But the NCAA would make so many terrible decisions.
Yes.
They would. If the NCAA hadn't made just terrible, hypocritical decisions, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah.
We're in this mess because the NCAA has done a terrible job. That's why we're in this mess. And you know what? I believe probably when the way things are, Jimbo may have not broken a rule.
No, Jimbo didn't break any rules. And Saban wasn't saying that he broke any rules.
I know.
Saban was saying exactly what has been in the papers at A&M that they're bragging about.
I'm sure if Jimbo would pick up Saban's phone call and goes, look, Jimbo, here's what I meant. You know, I mean, he goes, you know, here's what I meant. I was trying to get my guys to pony up the NIL game because I guarantee you, Nick Saban doesn't like losing to his former assistants. Not in football, not in golf, not in recruiting. You're not a guy like Nick Saban and take losing kindly. And I think
it's not just what he meant. If you listen to it, that's what he said.
Yeah.
And if a grown man that's won a national championship can't figure that out, instead he gets all butthurt about it and goes scorched earth talking about a guy that gave him a job at LSU and a national championship.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I'm not a huge Nick Saban fan either, okay? But my goodness, I don't think it deserved the response that Jimbo had. It didn't deserve the response at all. In fact, to me, look, that's a sign of guilt when you respond like that.
Now, had the shoe been on the other foot, had let's say freaking Jimbo said the same stuff about Saban. Do you think Saban would have the same reaction?
He might, but I think Saban's more professional. I don't think he would have done it the way Jimbo did.
No, I agree. I think
Jimbo,
your Belichick's, your Coach K's, your Saban's, your legendary coaches, you know, would have been like, I don't have to buy players.
Well, you know, I've heard people give like NFL players that advice of don't send that tweet yet, you know, or you've heard people, you know, don't send a text message while you're angry, you know, let it settle for a few hours before you respond. That's what Jimbo should have done. Jimbo should have let it breathe for a little bit. Instead, then as soon as he could, he got a press conference together. But Clint, everybody knows what they're doing is shady, but it's legal.
Yeah.
It's legal.
I guarantee you they're going to see, and Jimbo should have just left it be. Because here's what because he's like, look, I did the research on this. Only one of our top 11 players has an NIL deal. You know what I would have done? I would have went to my number one recruit's living room, the guy that hasn't committed yet that I really want. And I said, you know what Nick Saban said, what he said? Because he knows our NIL game's on point. You want to make money? You want to make the NFL? Look who we put in the NFL recently. Myles Garrett, quarterback, Kellen Mond. Look at these guys that are in the NFL that play for me. And so you can get to the NFL and I can get you more money. And Nick Saban knows it. That's why he's saying this stuff. Oh. That's how I would have handled it.
Yeah.
Well, I would have still been a jerk to Nick Saban because I like being a jerk to people. But
and here's the deal, Clint. I'm super proud of Dion. Because from what I understand, I haven't heard anything else. But I think that's the way he handled it.
And Dion did. He did say, look, he's tried to call me privately. We are not going to speak privately. His comments were public. We can talk in the public.
Yeah.
You know, you go,
and that's fine. But he didn't, at least Dion didn't go scorched earth like Jimbo did.
Yeah.
At least he didn't respond in anger. And to me, that's
now some of the responses has been priceless. Lane Kiffin goes, for once I'm speechless.
Yeah.
You know, Lane Lane handled it really well.
Hunter Yurachek tweeting out that picture of
Pittman covered his mouth looking at the phone like, oh, big eyes.
Yeah.
It just, I think both of them, I don't think either one of them lied.
No.
I think maybe Saban used poor terminology when he said buy every player.
Yeah.
I mean,
but Clint, when you give, what was it? They were giving every offensive lineman.
That was Texas, not Texas A&M. Texas.
Okay, Texas. Sorry.
It's like every scholarship offensive lineman gets $50,000.
Yeah. Okay. And you're right. That wasn't Texas A&M. I'd forgotten about that. I was thinking that was Texas A&M for some.
That deal may be illegal. It may not, but I do remember reading that it was Texas. I think all Arkansas's offensive linemen at least get barbecue.
But here's the thing. Yeah. No, that same deal that Texas is doing, Arkansas is doing that too.
Yeah.
They're doing it with Devo Davis. He's the face of a charity now. And they're fixing to do some charity work in North Little Rock, where he's from, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And which is great. I'm glad he's doing it, but
that's both breeders or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. But that's what they did in Texas. They started these charity organizations and hired the offensive line as their spokespeople for those charities. And so in order to get that, that certain amount of money, the $50,000 or whatever, they just have to show up at some charity events, which players do that kind of stuff anyway. But I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, some charity goes out, but how many charities have that kind of money sitting around? What if they put that money into the charity? They could do a lot more stuff, probably.
Well, if you got your JB Hunt, your Tysons, JB Hunt, for example, I think they were the ones that did the program with JD Note, where it's like it was the first of its kind. I mean, you got to think it's probably a tax write-off from them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm hiring this guy to go talk to kids. I'm paying him $50,000, and it's just a tax write-off for them. It's probably good for them. Probably actually helping them out. But now here, I think it benefits a school like Arkansas, because if JB Hunt's located in Dallas, Texas, who are you going to donate money to?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe A&M, and of course A&M's got all that oil money down. But you see what I'm saying is all these corporations in Arkansas don't have to worry about who to split their money through, because they're not going to tick off Arkansas State.
Which, okay, once again, I'm going to go, oh man, get off my lawn.
Oh, you're good. I understand.
But thank you, Frank Broyles.
Yeah.
Because he set it up to where, that those Arkansas State never had a chance to get that, to be that second fiddle.
Yeah.
I mean, to be that close, they've always been second.
Well,
they're
let's not lie. If Arkansas would have played Arkansas State in the Chad Morris era, we would have got blown out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it would have been humiliating, because the gap has widened back significantly. But now I don't know why I'm saying this, but it just came up in my head, and how I do. I think of stuff. Arkansas State did have the #1 recruiting class in the Sun Belt this year.
Did they? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Clint, let's talk about something good that's happening.
Oh yeah.
Because then we got to talk about baseball later.
You don't just get baseball over with and end with the good thing.
No. Let's talk good right now.
We'll go good.
I got a little fired up on Jimbo there.
All right, we'll bring you
Arkansas softball team.
Yeah,
and I've had a couple friends that have gotten on to me because we haven't talked about them all season.
And it's funny because me and you both had the idea to talk about them. Of course,
I know we both were like, yeah, we need to talk about softball, and then we'd forget about it. Well, they're killing it.
They are.
They're killing it. We got two pitchers. I want to say this. Shanice. I'm going to say her last name wrong, and I may have said her first name wrong. But she's a pitcher. She's killing it, dude. I watched her pitch the other day. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's very consistent. She's not she's spectacular, but she's not super spectacular, but man, she's just consistent and just does a good job. She's got a 2.18 ERA with 18 wins and 2 losses. And then you got Mary Half, who's got a 2.61 ERA with 20 wins and 4 losses. Man, when you got, a lot of softball teams will have one really good pitcher.
Yeah.
Like that. And then they'll usually have to do other games by committee. That's just kind of the way it is. In high school, because of softball, the way it is, they can pitch game after game, they can go. But when you got 2 pitchers that can do that and be that good, that just makes your softball team even better.
Man, I remember I was watching a softball game. It was Michigan and somebody. I don't remember the second team, but it was the College World Series, and like they were in like the 12th inning, and like both starters were still in, like throwing 180 pitches. Like it blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, these girls' arms are gonna fall off.
Yeah.
But no, they're killing it. They came on last year and had a pretty good team. I think they made it to the Super Regionals, and then they lost to somebody. So they didn't make it they actually do the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City.
Mm.
So somebody's going to be going to Oklahoma. So hopefully they go to Oklahoma City. I think Arkansas.
They're hosting the Longhorns, which is always.
I know, and it's great. And the one thing about Arkansas, when it's an important game, and the fans know it's an important game, and it's a big moment, the Arkansas fans show up and they show out.
Yeah.
And they're doing a whiteout for the game.
Yeah.
On I believe Friday it is.
Yeah.
So yeah. They're whiting out, and man, like, hey, they're proud of these girls. They want to go see them, or women, I should say women.
Yeah,
because I do have feminist propaganda.
That's right.
But these ladies they're going, and like they're going to show up. We're going to support them. I won't show up. I'll be at work, but you get my point.
Yeah.
So we're gonna support them. We're going to show up all in white, and your trip. Have they ever made it to the Women's College World Series before?
I'm not for sure. I don't know.
I mean, they haven't made it very often, obviously.
No.
And who's standing between us and this goal?
Texas.
And it usually when Texas is standing between Arkansas and the Final Four or something like that, it usually hasn't gone well for Texas.
No.
So I'm hoping these ladies can pull it off and push Arkansas over the edge. And they have a top-notch recruiting class.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, kudos to Hunter Yurchek, and you got to go back to Frank Broyles, Jeff Long, Yurchek. The facilities that they've given the head coach to recruit to is it Boggle Park?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. But the facilities they have to recruit to are literally second to none. Yeah,
for sure. And yeah, it's just neat too, because we have been talking a lot about, and we can get on here every week and talk football, basketball, baseball. There's something literally every week we can get on here and talk about.
Yeah.
Because one thing, everybody's excited about them, and they're doing so well in those sports. But it's kind of neat for one of our lady sports to be, women's basketball has done well in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Not so much this year, but as they did the year before with Chelsea Dungy and all them. But
did you see Chelsea Dungy? I think got hired as a coach at Troy State.
Right. Sure did.
Or is it just Troy now? That's just Troy.
I think it's Troy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that did get that school correct, didn't it?
I think so. I think I saw that on Twitter earlier.
So
but anyway, I mean, it's just so cool to get someone excited about that, and gymnastics has done some really great things, but that doesn't really hit the radar as much But this softball, because it's on SEC Network so much and things like that, has really hit the radar. And so, man, it's great.
And I don't think, and this is another thing, because you've really seen in the last couple years, baseball take off, softball take off, other sports take off. Anyway, I think the SEC Network gets a lot of credit for that, because I mean, there's more television coverage for everything.
Well, and even gymnastics. I mean, they put gymnastics and track meets on there too.
Yeah,
you're able to watch some of those if you really want to watch them. Now, on the other side, the boys, they go down to Alabama to spend some time. They're in Alabama for an extended time. Okay, they went to play the University of Alabama, a 3-game series, started last Thursday. And then they were just going to stay down there for the SEC tournament in Hoover and they didn't even come home. Well, the series with Alabama didn't go so well.
It did not.
Especially in that last game. But Clint, did you get to watch any of it?
I watched a little. It just seemed they seemed pretty just uninterested about being there. I mean, they just didn't. I don't know. It seemed like they were phoning it in.
Well, in that second game, I watched some of it, and they kept doing the shift.
Yeah.
And Alabama kept hitting to the backside of the shift. Like one time, Russell Moore would have had an easy double play, but they had shifted him over behind second. If he would have stood where he would have normally stood for a right-handed batter. If he would have stood where he would normally stand for a right-handed batter as a second baseman, instead of shifting more over toward, second behind second base, he would have caught the ball, would have came right to him, and he would have got an easy double play. Instead, it hit the gap. They score a run and get another runner on. But here's the bad thing, Clint, is earlier in the year, there were times when our starting pitching was pretty good, but the hitting was what kept us from winning some games here and there. Well, this weekend, the pitching was really rough too.
Yeah.
The pitching didn't do so well. Now, he had mixed some things up. However, it's not the way you want to finish the season. And matter of fact, it's changed some things going in the SEC tournament. Most people are saying we got to win 2 games in the SEC tournament to host a regional. That's to host a regional.
Yeah. Not a super regional.
Not a super regional. Super regional is out from what most people are saying. Unless like we would have to win the SEC tournament and play the right people in the SEC tournament to get the RPI stuff up. And then right people would have to lose for us to get close to even hosting a super regional or to be in the talks for it. But Clint, that's a long way. We were number 5 in the nation for, or close to that all year long, or higher than that all year long. And now we're not even going to, and here's the other thing, Clint. We may not get to play 2 games in Hoover, even if we win against Alabama.
Yeah.
They're having rain there, and it's supposed to last all weekend. And they don't know, and they're ending the tournament on Sunday no matter what. So we don't even know. Like right now, we play tomorrow at 1. Well, that's all. They've already pushed one of tonight's games into tomorrow morning. So we're already starting later than 1 o'clock tomorrow. Our game has already been pushed back for our first game there. So we may not even get to play to even get, we may not even get to finish the SEC tournament because of weather. And so we may not be hosting even a regional, which would be so sad because Baum is such a great place.
I know, especially like something like that. Hopefully at least get a regional. I know it's kind of like they have all these computer generated polls where they're like, okay, this person's RPI or RTI or something like that. I don't know what it is in baseball, but like Texas A&M, a matter of fact, they canceled a midweek game.
Yeah.
Because they were like, it's going to drop our RPI.
Yeah, even if they won. Yeah.
There's no advantage to playing the game.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, first off, that's a very Jimbo Fisher thing to do. Sorry. But I mean, it's like at some point you've got to watch games and like, is this team good enough to play or not? You can't convince me. I mean, despite the recent struggles, right now they're not a top 25 team, but I'd be hard pressed to tell you there's 16 teams that are better than Arkansas.
And that brings me to my question, Clint. Big C. Give me a number, possibility, percent chance the Hogs make it to Omaha.
25.
I was going to say 30. So we're right there in the same
range. I mean, we peaked way too early last year. Way, way, way early. Now it was obviously this year, we haven't peaked.
Yeah.
Or we peaked, or peak wasn't very high.
No.
So I'm saying, I think this team's got some baseball in them. It's last year is kind of like, okay, let's get ahead, and if the game gets tight, we'll call the cops.
Yeah.
And some games never got tight.
No.
They got to start doing a lot of the things. They got to play better defense than they played. I mean, even with the shift, which I hate the shift. I've always hated the shift.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Even in the MLB, I hate the shift.
Well, but I like it when teams shift and the hitter hits behind it, which I didn't like it when Alabama was doing that to us, but that shows me that they do more in batting practice than just hit home runs.
Yeah.
And that, which I was watching my Yankees play the other day, and Juan Carlos Stanton got up there and
what is that sports center mentality? Everybody wants to make the spectacular play, no one wants to do the grunt. But I do think to a degree, as Arkansas fans, are pretty spoiled.
Yeah.
Where this is a disappointing baseball season.
No, I agree with you. It's and actually, Clint, yesterday I just happened to turn on my radio and before a meeting I had, and I had a chance to call in to our favorite afternoon sports talk show.
Oh my God.
They had Caden Wallace on. And so I called and asked him a question. Since he is the favorite player of the Big C and Bigger T podcast, right, because he's a Greenbrier Panther, I said, I told him at first, I said, Caden, I'm also a product of the mean streets of Worcester. And I said, I knew your family. I know your family, and, grew up in First Baptist Church there. But I said, I've been gone a long time. But anyway, and just kind of said how proud I was of him, how good he represents.
Yeah.
Because, he does. He represents Greenbrier and Worcester well. And the Razorbacks well. But anyway, I asked him, I said, one of the things that we as fans complain about is that y'all have a hard time hitting with players on the base. You have a hard time. Y'all have struggled with driving people home.
Yeah, hitting with runners in scoring position.
Runners in scoring position. I said, and I just asked, I said, what do you do to work on that? Is that more of a change of mentality exercise, or are there technical things that you do in practice to work on doing that? And man, he gave a great answer. He said, we do technical things. He said, we work on, getting ground balls to certain positions in certain situations. We work on bunting. We work on, trying to get pop flies and, in situations where a pop fly would do it. He said, but you also have to remember, he said, there's a pitcher out there that is also adjusting during that time.
Yeah.
And I said, man, that's a great answer, because that's something we forget about a lot of times. Yeah. Is when y'all get in that situation, that pitcher's playing SEC ball for a reason.
But this series this weekend too, and why you say this is this series was a huge for Alabama.
Mm.
I mean, it was because Alabama was fighting to get in the tournament. They needed this series win to get in the tournament.
Yeah.
And Arkansas needed this series win to win the SEC West. Yeah. And so it was like a battle of wills, and Alabama happened to win.
And when you're playing against someone that their back's against the wall, and that's and when we have runners in scoring positions, that pitcher's got their back against the wall.
Yeah.
Because when our pitcher pitches out of that, we get super stoked and excited.
Yeah.
Because look how gritty he is. Look how strong-minded he is. Well, they're pitchers in the SEC for a reason.
No, they really are. And I think Rick Schaefer on Drive Time Sports made the point not the other day, but a while back. He said sports is one of the only jobs that you have someone's constantly trying to undermine you.
Yeah.
Or trying to stop you from succeeding. You've got someone actively trying to stop you from succeeding at your job at all times.
Yeah, and that guy, and that's the thing too. He has studied those hitters.
Yeah.
They know, they have the work, man. They got the scouting. They know when Caden Wallace is up there where he likes his pitches and where he doesn't like them.
Yeah. And you know what? It doesn't matter if you're a true freshman playing in one of your first series. They've seen you play.
That's
you
right.
don't get that level of baseball and not have been. I mean, it's like, it goes back to one thing we talked about when we had Coach Buckner on a long, long time ago. It's like kids don't get to be kids. These kids just pretty much play ball all the time. They don't get breaks.
That's right.
Got to go and so they've been playing ball. So they've been seen, and that pitcher's probably seen them.
Yeah.
I think it was a UAPB Arkansas game earlier in the year that the pitcher from Arkansas and the hitter were high school teammates.
That's right. Yeah.
So. Yep.
Well, Clint, one more thing at least we need to talk about here.
Absolutely.
ESPN has a ranking they do.
It is like it makes no sense to me, but we can.
I think it's the FPI. Is that right? FPI.
They had Texas after they lost to Arkansas in the top 10 last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it is the most useless poll.
And I think last year, didn't they pick Arkansas to finish last?
They did.
In the SEC West. Well, Clint, they've done it again.
Well, they always do.
They picked Arkansas to finish last in the SEC West.
On one hand, you should be upset. Did you not watch us last year?
Yeah.
On the other hand, you also got to remember we're 2 years removed from being 2-10 and a laughing stock of college football. I mean, so we're not. I mean, during the COVID year, because there pretty much was no bowl requirements. I saw so many bowl requirements or bowl projections that had Arkansas versus Kansas. Somebody will win their first game.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, of course, we were playing the all SEC schedule.
Yeah.
So you're not too far removed from that. And I think we were talking briefly before. I'm like, okay, who would I pick to finish last? Probably Auburn.
All the problems they've had, but
so
yeah.
But now here, could you? I mean, we got to go to Auburn. We could lose that game. And then I said, I'd probably put Mississippi State 6th. You've already knocked a pitcher off. You're going to all your stuff's going to come falling down on your head.
Yeah.
And I'm going to laugh at you. That's what friends are for. Then I'd probably put LSU 5th. And then I think the other 4 can win it. I think Arkansas could win it. A&M could win it. I mean, I would have Arkansas no worse than 4th, and as high as 1. Of course, I did pick them to win the national championship, so I'd have them number 1.
Yeah,
but
no, I think the disrespect part in this, Clint, I can see their argument, okay? Because like you said, you just listed off some teams there.
Yeah.
We don't know how Auburn's going to be. We don't know how LSU is going to be. We don't know how, they've replaced a lot down there.
Yeah.
They got 2 former Razorbacks. We don't know, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, we think are getting better. I think Mississippi State's they're gonna be who they are. I don't think they're gonna. I think Ole Miss is on an uptick and gonna keep having upticks because of Lane Kiffin. I think I don't believe in the pirate in the SEC. So
no, I think Lane Kiffin's played the portal about as good as anybody.
Yeah, and so but in some polls, Clint, KJ Jefferson, some people have him as the 5th best quarterback in the country. And at worst, he's 2nd in the SEC in most projections. He is actually going to the Manning Passing Academy as a camp counselor. Yes. And you're not a slouch if you do that. That's right. How many teams that have a quarterback that's getting those kind of accolades do they pick to finish last? Not many. That's, to me as a fan, that's where the disrespect is. Yeah. But see, here's the thing about KJ Jefferson. I think last year, the unquestioned leader of that team was Grant Morgan. Mm-hmm. This year, I think it's KJ Jefferson. I know they got bump and pull too, but KJ. I think it was KJ on offense last year. It was for sure, but that chip. I'm talking about the overall team. I think it really was Grant Morgan. Mm-hmm. I think now, you go in the locker room, you'll see KJ speak up first. I think last year probably Grant would have spoke up first. Now KJ, but KJ plays that chip on his shoulder. He puts a chip on there. Yeah, because they were going around the room last year. His own Hog Plus, and he was like, last year they had a poll and it listed me 14th out of 14 quarterbacks, said I was the worst quarterback in the SEC. Yeah. And you got to watch that Missouri game last year where he didn't know he was going to start. Yeah. And so KJ is not the 14th best quarterback in the SEC. I don't know what you're looking at. Yeah. They will finish. They'll finish no worse. I predicted no worse than 4th that I could see as high as 1. Mm. But I mean, you shouldn't put too much merit into that. Which once again proves in many things, ESPN is just not smart. No, I mean, it is what it is. It's clickbait. Is something they do. I mean, I wouldn't make too much out of it. But you know what? Here's the thing. No matter, they could pick us to finish last in the country. We got to play all the games. That's right. They're going to pick us to finish first. We still got to play all the games. And the schedule is brutal. I would pick Chad Morris would go 1-11 against the schedule. Well, Clint, man, we covered a lot of stuff today. We did, including me getting in trouble in high school by Tom Clark. That's right. Well, I got to tell you, just to kind of close it off with something kind of funny. I got an epiphany the other night. Oh, yeah. I've been watching, I watch American Idol. I'm a big fan still. Yeah, I know. And the guy who won it, congratulations, Noah. He's a 20-year-old sheetrock construction worker. His best friend talked him into trying out and signed him up without him knowing it or something. And he ends up winning the whole thing. But watching the last show, they have all these different artists come on and the contestants sing with them, right? And I got this epiphany. The coolest people on earth, by far, and I will never be this cool, you will never be this cool, are older, I would say elderly age, African-American musicians. They're pretty cool. Lionel Richie is the coolest cat around.
You know,
He got up there to sing, man, and he's like, "You are the sun," and like I mean, it's just like, dude, I'm just walking in the room, entertaining everybody.
Lionel Richie and Kenny Rogers were best friends.
Yeah, Lionel Richie's wonderful. And
Lionel Richie wrote "Lady" by Kenny Rogers.
That's right. And then Earth, Wind, and Fire come out. And Clint, I don't know how old those dudes are. They may not be all that old, but Clint, they come out, and it was like, like you see like the Rolling Stones, or somebody like that. They're wearing all these tight shirts and tight pants that is probably holding all their joints together, they're so their hip doesn't pop out of place and all this stuff. Well, like, Earth, Wind, and Fire come out, and a couple of them are in nice suits, a couple of them are in look like they've been working out, and they're like 70 years old, and they're like all bowed up. And then they're up there, like, they don't have all these other things on them. They're like, yeah, we just walked in here and thought we'd get on stage and play some tunes for y'all. And they just they were so cool, man. And they sang and played guitar and danced and everything else, played like trombone and all that stuff. And I was like, man, I want to be that cool someday, because those guys are just cool.
But yeah,
those guys are just amazing, and they're so talented, man. Still hitting, these notes, Earth, Wind, and Fire hitting, do you remember, hitting those high notes and like there's this young kid singing with them, and I'm sorry, he couldn't hold a candle to what they were doing.
Oh no.
I mean, there's some of those American Idols that do about as good as the people they're singing with. But
I remember watching a show. It was a show, and like it was like a group of women singing together, and Aretha and Celine Dion were on there. And Celine went for that high note, and then he's like, "Oh no, you're not showing me up." It's like, I'm going to show you I'm still the GOAT. Yeah. And then Celine's like, all right.
And Celine probably looked like she was all stressed about it, or like trying to make it perfect. And Aretha's just up there like, "Oh no, girl, no, just you just go sit down."
So how many does this make it now, Big T?
How many what?
Podcast. How many we done
63, now? Man, this is 63.
63. 14 months. Man, no, it's flown by. It's been interesting to me for, what we started with to what it's become.
Yeah.
It's totally different than what we, when we first started talking, but
yeah,
I think we found a groove, and I think we're doing good at it.
And we're always willing to try different things. So hey,
and we did post our two teams last week when Mike Floyd shared our two teams.
Yeah. And
on hogville.net, and had one guy call me an idiot pretty much for drafting Al Dillard. But I admit, I said, look, there's a little kid in me that I was like, I just wanted to see him like start jacking them up at half court and draining them. I mean, yeah, but no, I do appreciate all the comments and all that.
And that's the cool thing about this, Clint, is we have some people that listen to this, and they, I don't know, they may just listen to it because they want to be nice to us, but I love it, man. I love doing it. I love doing it with you. But I love when, like your buddy Gabe, and he'll, his comments and stuff. And then knowing that, like my buddy Mike Floyd listens to it. I got my buddy Michael McDaniel, I was talking to him last night, and he's like, "Well, man, when y'all doing your podcast?" He said, "I listen to it almost as soon as it posts," and I appreciate that so much. I got kids from my school that they're starting to watch them on YouTube, and they'll tell me they're listening to it. Some of their siblings are listening to it and everything. So, man, it's just we appreciate y'all so much.
No, thanks, and please like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you guys so much. taking an hour or so out of your week to just listen to us ramble.
That's right. And, and like Clint said, share it with folks, let other people know if they like it, man, that's awesome. If they don't, that's all right. That's why there's so many radio stations.
If they ask you, why should we listen to it? Goes, Paul Feinbaum's a fan.
That's right. Because that's right. If they say, well, is there any famous people that think it's pretty good? Well, yes, there is. Paul Feinbaum once said, that's pretty good. I'll have to check that out.
And then I always correct you and say, no, this is what he really said. Oh, wow. That's the greatest podcast I've ever seen. I'm going to subscribe right now.
Yeah. We're not for sure which one's the closest to what he really said. But thanks to Mike Floyd, who caught him. And, of course, you can approach a guy like Paul Feinbaum on an airplane because you don't have to worry about the Mike Tyson thing happening to you with him. He doesn't know. He throws haymakers like Mr. Burns on The Simpsons. What are you doing? I'm giving you the beating of your life. So anyway, but yeah, Mike, our buddy Mike Floyd, he was on a flight with Paul Feinbaum, and showed him our podcast, and Paul Feinbaum said something like, well, that's pretty good. I'll have to check that out.
That's the greatest thing.
Which version?
No, this is unbelievable. Greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm going to subscribe right now.
That's right.
That big C's a breathtaking creature.
Yeah, I had to say something like that.
Yeah. Like, man, the Skinner one's handsome.
That's right. Well, seriously, folks, thank y'all so much for listening. Clint, as always, brother, love you. Thanks so much.
First time I've ever described myself as the skinnier one. So there you go.
That doesn't happen a whole lot, does it?
I don't have to very often.
Hey, thanks, y'all. Listen, have a great week. Is this Memorial Day weekend coming up?
It is Memorial Day weekend.
Man, have a great Memorial Day, y'all.
Yeah, eat some hamburgers and hot dogs, people.
Hamburgers, hot dogs. We're having a fish fry at the church.
Ooh, that'll be delicious. I love fish.
You should come down. It's the fruits of the labor from our little trip. We're going to cook up those all those catfish we caught on, or they caught on crickets. So I'm excited about that.
I bet you are.
Yeah, always fired up for fish fry. We know how to do those in South Arkansas. Hey, seriously, y'all, thank y'all so much. Like, subscribe. If you're checking this out on YouTube and you want to download it on Apple, check us out there. All that good stuff. Leave us comments on our social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us any of those places. Thank y'all so much. We out.
Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard drive so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no